Welcome to the Verdin Verdict Sports Show. I'm your host, Jacob Verdin, and today we got a very special episode. We're going to be breaking down the Super Bowl. Of course, the biggest event in all of sports. The NFL puts on the Super Bowl every year. Everyone's always anticipating it. But the more abundant question during the Super Bowl season is who's going to win. Everyone wants to know. Everyone wants the predictions. Everyone wants the preview. Well, today we're going to bring that to you. But first, I'm going to give you three takeaways from each conference championship game, the way I saw it. Starting off with the Niners and Eagles, I thought this would be the more competitive game. If you would have asked me, I would have bet on this being the down to the wire, nitty gritty performance that we normally see in the NFC title games. The Niners face adversity all season. This was no different. They go into this game with their third string quarterback, the last pick in the draft this year, Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy, turned Mr. Relevant. He goes out there, unfortunately, gets banged up, gets taken out, and now the Niners are left with their fourth quarterback of the season. Well, fifth if you're going to count Christian McCaffrey's little appearance. And quite frankly, when Josh Johnson went down, they even considered putting Christian back in. The Niners had a rough set of injuries this year. You know, whether it be Debo getting banged up a little bit, George Kittle had his stretches, and the quarterback room got decimated. Every single quarterback on that roster finished the year with an injury, a major injury at that, in some way, shape, or form. Going into next season with that knowledge, you could do one of two things. You could either A, boost up that offensive line, try to add some depth, roll with the punches, and have the adversity, kind of get overcame next year, or you can try to load up and get a free agent quarterback. They got a lot of guys to choose from, whether it be an Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady. You could you can make a trade for just about anybody today. You got Lamar Jackson on the line. A lot of people are mobile today in a sense where they're not stuck to one franchise forever. I mean, really, you've seen Tom Brady move, the greatest player of all time. Anything's possible in the NFL. So the Niners could look at a new quarterback for next year, capitalize off of the depth that they have already, whether it be the Debo Samuels, the George Kittles, the Christian McCaffrey. They got a lot of shiny pieces, a lot of bells and whistles that Kyle Shanahan's going to want to try to make use of before that Super Bowl window closes. And the NFL closes rather quickly. A lot of teams get finite amount of time, and when you got older guys, especially older guys who get banged up and might not stand the test of time for much longer, you want to try to capitalize while you still can. So if you're the San Francisco 49ers, you're gonna contemplate hard this offseason what direction you want to move in, whether it be a Trey Lance. Of course, it's more than likely not going to be Jimmy Garoppolo, as they were looking to trade him and move on from him already as of this year by starting Trey Lance. Another thing is Brock Purdy. So you got Brock Purdy with the UCL. I don't know if it's a complete tear or just a full sprain or what have you, but then you got Trey Lance as well with a pretty major injury, a broken ankle. So you're going to be not necessarily limited at quarterback in the sense where the guys can't play as much as they might not be reliable options next year. What if they get banged up? Who's going to have to come in next? You want to plan for the future. So I would expect them to add some depth in that position. For the Eagles side of things, that quarterback area, Jalen Hurts is going to have to step up. I don't know if he's hurt. I don't know if he's playing in a timid manner. The run game was pretty successful. The defense was doing well, so they might have not had to step up in those areas. But if you look at the statistics, his last two games, he has combined 275 passing yards and two passing touchdowns. 275 and two. That would be a decent game if it was one, but over the course of two games, two playoff games for that matter, uh, it's a bit of an issue, especially when you're heading to the Super Bowl against the Kansas City Chiefs, who probably have the best offense in the NFL. I think Jalen Hurts is going to be put on the hot seat here in a sense where he's going to have to perform as he did in his great moments throughout the year. He's going to have that pressure, and he's going to have to go out, get mobile, get his guys in space, get his skilled players active, whether it be Devontae Smith, whether it be A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, Miles Sanders. He's going to have to get his guys going. And, I'm not going to question whether or not he can do that. I think he's capable. He's proven himself time and time and time again. But if there's a bigger thing going on here, like an injury or, like a discomfort in this element, it could pose a problem. So it's interesting for me that the Eagles are going to open up as Super Bowl favorites. They're early Super Bowl favorites. It's a very close spread, but interesting to me. I think the safe bet would be Mister Three-time Super Bowl appearance, Patrick Mahomes, as well as Travis Kelce, who seems to be unguardable at this stage of his career. All in all, my takeaway from this conference championship was the Niners are still talented. They're going to have to try to make a push. Y'all are loaded. Get it done. Don't turn into a Green Bay Packers situation where you were a piece away, you couldn't find the piece, and the window is now unfortunately closed. Moving on to the AFC title game, Bengals versus Chiefs. I think the moral of the story for this entire game is that Joe Burrow needs a better offensive line. Period, point blank. Joe Burrow has horrible offensive line issues in Cincinnati. They're going to have to really focus on that moving forward. They're going to have to protect their most important asset, which would be your quarterback, of course. You pay him the most money, you're gonna give him the rock. You're gonna give him pretty much the reins to the entire team. You're gonna want to make sure that he stands on his feet and stays in one piece. You know that it's kind of worrisome when you see him getting thrown around, especially when in his first year he had a major injury. You don't want to see him carted off again. The team is already in a bit of a sticky situation out of right guard and offensive tackle going into this game. So the offensive line, was held up by little bitty pieces of scotch tape throughout this final moments of the season, it seemed. But all in all, with the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes toughed it out. Horrible ankle injury. He played through it. Shout out to the training staff in Kansas City because, yeah, he was limping. He was hopping on one foot at times. He seemed uncomfortable here and there. But for him to be able to put up 326 passing yards and two passing touchdowns, lead his team to a great victory, and punch his way to his third Super Bowl, it seemed like they kept him hemmed in. They kept him calm between the ears. They got him on a good regimen, and they got him back out there playing, especially when you got moments like Travis Kelce potentially not getting out in the field with the locked up back in the practice before the game. That moment had everyone around the country holding their breath. I mean, you just saw the Niners get decimated by an injury and change the course of the game. The minute Brock Purdy went down, it looked like it was all but over. And then add Nick Bosa's injury to it, and it's just a little bit of, insult on injury. Um, I think all in all, it's tough to see Joe Burrow lose, man. As a big LSU fan, watching Joe Burrow, everyone wants to see him succeed. And, they got really close last season. This year was a great effort as well. Wouldn't be surprised to see them back in the race again next year. Like I said, they got a couple pieces to fine tune. They might lose a couple guys, whether it be a T. Higgins or a Joe Mixon. But all in all, they got a lot of depth. They got a great core. And I think this young franchise will probably be, the talk in the NFL for a couple more years. So moving on to the Super Bowl, Eagles and Chiefs, best two teams in the NFL, without a doubt. Number one and number two easily. It's been a while since we've had that happen. It's been a while since we've had teams who, we have no question on whether or not they should be the representatives of their conference. But looking at the Chiefs on paper, that offensive firepower, they never missed a beat. Losing Tyreek Hill, uh, all the questions in the offseason on whether or not Patrick Mahomes is still going to be able to perform. He shut up all the noise. First in points per game, first in total yards, first in passing yards. The Kansas City Chiefs offense. Looking at that on paper, that's intimidating. If you're an Eagles defense who's had trouble against Dallas, who's had trouble against a couple teams that have scored an abundance of points on you, you don't want to see 30s and high 20s all year on the score sheet when you're the Philadelphia Eagles because people are already questioning whether or not you're a legitimate team with a legitimate schedule, playing great teams. They see the division you're in, and they are already skeptical. But this isn't the Eagles' first time getting doubted early on. On the sports book side of things, yeah, they're the favorite, but a lot of people are talking about, man, the Chiefs got the potential to take it all. Yeah, some people are saying the Eagles have the most talented team. They got Jalen Hurts, they got Devontae Smith, AJ Brown. They got a lot of pieces that can be in the top 10s, top 20s of their position in the NFL. But the Chiefs are a well-oiled machine. Andy Reid's hard, very hard to decipher a scheme against and to just try to break his scheme down. Billy Sean McCoy called him the greatest coach of all time here recently this past week. So I think those type of things are going to be what makes the Super Bowl interesting. You got a young quarterback, a young team who, hasn't been out of the Super Bowl limelight for a long time. They won a couple years ago, but new coach, new quarterback, they're back in. And one of the same old dogs, the Chiefs and Andy Reid are back. It's a pretty interesting storyline. You got the Kelsey brothers playing, of course. You got Andy Reid playing his old team who shipped them out. Um, it's going to come down to what defense makes the least mistakes. It's going to be a battle of defenses here. The offenses will explode, but at the end of the day, both quarterbacks kind of have a crutch. Jalen Hurts is coming in off a little bit of a slump. Could be banged up a little still. Could be nursing that shoulder. Patrick Mahomes has that ankle. He's theoretically on one foot, but him in the pocket is just as deadly as we saw against the Cincinnati Bengals. So it's going to be one of those things where can the Eagles put the pressure on the pocket and the quarterback as they were able to against San Francisco, against Brock Purdy, against Josh Johnson, and briefly for against Christian McCaffrey. I think it'll probably be a Chiefs victory if I had to guess. If I had to go out there, if I was putting my money on it, I would say that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to get it done. I think Patrick Mahomes showed his stripes against the Bengals fairly well. Had a great game. I don't think the Eagles are going to have the answers to all the weapons the Chiefs have, the way they're going to utilize them. It's a big step up in competition. It's a big step up in the spotlight that they're going to get. There's going to be a lot of moving parts to this game, but I will think it'll come down to, like I said, the defensive mistakes. I'll give it to the more experienced crew, to the crew who's been here a couple more times and who's even won one here recently. But changing gears, moving over to college football, moving over to LSU 2023, big season, big things to look forward to, I think. I got 3 takeaways for this and 3 things to leave you with here before we sign off for this week's episode. This year was a great year in a sense where the team built a good foundation. The team was able to get all the pieces together, as unlikely as it seemed, with the 30 some players left on scholarship here when Brian Kelly took over the team. A lot of people were wondering if they were even going to be able to rack up a 500 record. Of course, we put that noise to bed. We went out, amassed 10 wins, and quite frankly, changed the entire look of the program in 1 year, which is very hard to do. Very hard to do in college football in general. Nonetheless, the SEC, nonetheless, the SEC West, where in your first year, you're going to beat Alabama. You're going to beat Ole Miss. You're going to beat the dogs. You're going to beat Arkansas. And when I mean dogs, I mean the top dogs of the conference. Unfortunately, we didn't beat the Georgia Bulldogs. I want to make sure that one didn't get confused. But 3 keys for LSU in 2023. I think the biggest key for the Tigers is going to be the fact that Mason Smith is going to return. I think this is undoubtedly one of the biggest returns in college football next season. Very unfortunate injury, but he's going to overcome the adversity, as we all expect. He's one of the biggest, not only draft prospects for this year, not only best defensive lineman for this year, but he's going to be one of the best players. He's going to have one of the biggest impacts. I couldn't write a better script for this because think about it. They're going to play week 1 against the team they played week 1 in when he had that unfortunate injury. He's going to get a chance to rewrite his script, so to speak. So I think this is going to be huge. You're going to pair him with Harold Perkins. It's going to be a incredible duo. I think that they're going to run rampant all over college football all season long. Another thing for LSU that I'm looking forward to is going to be the improved quarterback play. Jaden Daniels had a great year of growth behind him, amassed a lot of records, a lot of first year in LSU history, a lot of great records for Jaden Daniels. Jaden year 2 with more installments, with a lot more calm, cool collectedness. I think he's going to be able to perform well. I think he's going to have a lot more weapons at his disposal. A lot of wide receivers coming in. I think, giving Jaden a little bit more confidence and a little bit more experience at the SEC level, at this speed, at this, the complexity of things, I think it'll pay off. Brian Kelly's gonna have a tough decision in his hands though this offseason because I don't think Garrett Nussmeier is just gonna shy away and not put up a fight. If they give Garrett Nussmeier a chance at the quarterback spot, it'd be hard to rule him out. I'm not saying Jaden Daniels came back to lose the job. The writing's on the wall that he's probably gonna be the guy. But like I said, it'll be interesting to see it play out. And the heat that Nussmeier is going to be able to put on Jaden would just help him grow. Iron sharpens iron. It's a friendly competition. These guys are still, at the end of the day, on the same team trying to grow with each other. I think, Jaden, like I said, is probably going to wind up being quarterback 1. Brian Kelly's already on record saying, as of a couple weeks ago, that Jaden's their best quarterback. But like I said, a lot of things have changed, a lot of new weapons, a lot of new installments. It'll be interesting to see how the guys play. I think it'll only get better from here. In year 1, with the 6 different offensive line combinations through 6 weeks, with the new scheme, with a unfortunately, some injuries, unfortunately, some disconnect between some players. The sky's the limit. They had all that behind them. They've moved on from it. I think, with the pieces put in, with the things learned, with what Brian Kelly was able to do quickly, give him a little bit more time. I think the seeds are just going to sow a little bit deeper here this season. Another thing to look forward to: DB depth. Big transfers coming in. J.K. Johnson from Ohio State, Denver Harris, Texas A&M. These two guys are veteran DBs. They're already got some experience at a pretty high level. They were ranked high in their class coming out of high school. I think that one of the areas that LSU needed to focus on this offseason was the cornerback position, especially because you got guys like Mekhi Garner, Jarek Bernard, Jay Ward. They're all departing. They're leaving. You got to fill those holes. You're gonna have to get in there and find guys that have the right mindset, that have the right skill set, and that can adapt to the culture that Brian Kelly's trying to instill in LSU's program. I think they're doing the right job of it. They're finding the right pieces, and they're able to complement each other well. Spring ball's starting here soon in the next couple of weeks. We got some interesting things coming for you here on the Verdin Verdict. Make sure to subscribe to never miss another episode. Another episode coming here this weekend. Thanks for watching. Follow us on social medias, link in bio. You have a good night.